Ladies and gentlemen, Big Hairy News.
Hey, kia ora koutou whānau. Welcome back to another edition of Big Hairy News. Kia ora, Chewie. How are you, love?
Kia ora, Pat.
How did you feel about me turning up with 16 seconds to go? Was it all right? You weren't stressed out at all?
It was good. I assume that's how the pros did it. So yeah, no, it's good. Wasn't freaking out at all.
Welcome back, whānau. Good to have you all back in with us. Busy day, Chewie. How's it been for you?
Students are back in town, and it makes me like. There's good things about it. It's a very lively town when the students are around, especially when they're freshly arrived. Spent a lot of my day talking to overseas students here for their semester abroad sort of thing. That's always interesting, but it does make me miss quiet old, sleepy old, empty old Dunedin.
Really?
From the summer times. Yeah, I dig it.
I quite like it, eh?
It's nice.
I quite like they say they call it, the kids call it flow week. So flow week is the week before O week when everyone flows back into town. So that's flow week. And then there's O week.
I hate it.
Hey, I like what I say. I like the feeling. I live in a part of town that's got quite a few students, and just the feeling, it's like Dunedin's got these lungs. And when the students come back in, it's like this big deep breath, and
I get what you mean. I just hate the name Flow Week. It never existed when I was a student, so therefore it's stupid and dumb a name. But it also makes it sound like it's period. It's weird. I don't dig it.
Okay, boomer. Haven't you seen the news today that men aren't allowed to talk, especially in the House, about women's issues? So you need to retract that before someone gets onto you pretty quickly.
No, it's fine. It's only men in ACT who think they know what a menstrual cup is.
Good grief! And what about old David Seymour talking about the gender pay gap and talking about how women can't work late into the night because they've got other duties? It's actually what he said.
What?
I know. It's like, so there is a gender pay gap. He's acknowledged that, which I guess is a good thing that he's acknowledged that. But then then he is saying, because, I mean, he's basically saying because women then have to go home and look after the kids. That's basically what he's saying. He talks about they can't stay as late because they've got other duties, other responsibilities, maybe he said.
Well, this is one of the good things about our audience, right? We've got many ladies, lovely ladies in the chat.
Well, only if their husbands allow them to watch, though, surely.
Well, I was going to say that, they're the efficient women that have done, they cook the dinner, they've done all the washing, the vacuuming, they've got the kids off to bed. They're probably doing some ironing while they're watching this, or maybe baking a cake. For fuck's sake.
Speaking of David Seymour, I've sent out a tweet today, and this is genuine, Chewie. See if you can guess what it is before I reveal it. And I've started off the tweet by saying, I want to personally thank the ACT Party for...
I don't like it.
What do you think the ACT Party did that I thanked them for today?
Oh, God knows. What have they done?
What they did... Oh, shit, I haven't... this is what happens when you're 16 seconds in. I haven't got my screen ready to share yet. Stay with me, kids. Down in a second. Here we go.
Like, isn't it terrifying? They tweeted
this out. They tweeted this out. And I've said, without you, thank you for making me aware of this event. There's a chance that if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have known about it to now amplify on BHN and via my socials. Thanks for the mahi, David. So this is an event happening in Auckland on Saturday called Defying Destiny. It's got Dr. Emmy Rakti, Chloe Swarbrick, Reverend Mua Strickson, Pua, are going to be there. It's at 2 p.m. on Sunday, and I think I might actually see if I can jump on the live stream and see if anyone else is there on TikTok or whatever, having a look at it during. So remember, if you're watching us on YouTube right now, probably Facebook as well, if you subscribe and also hit the notification bell, that means if I do go live on Sunday at 2, you will be notified that BHN is going live. Because normally what happens is, handful of people have their TikToks and their TikToks and their Instagrams and that kind of stuff, live streaming, watching it, and we join in and jump in. So yeah, and of course this has set off a bit of it's kind of hilarious, Chewie, and I'm not saying that we're fence sitters, but when we're fair and we talk about when we witness what looks like an assault at a Posey Parker event, all these people come to us and go, well, yeah, but what about Posey? And we're like, yeah, I'm not doing it like we sit on the fence so they can't do anything. But when you call it on balls and strikes, it's like people are now kind of going about the bashing, and everyone's, because it's an Albert Park as well, everyone's talking about Posey Parker, and it's like, well, it says the queers bash back. I'm sure they're not meaning literally, because Brian Tamaki is not going to be there. So what do you think they're going to be bashing if you think it was a physical act? So that's what everyone's saying, of course. All the people on the other side are like, oh yeah, so you're supporting violence, are you?
All of these concern trolls. I mean, this is the thing. One side's not allowed to use that talk. The other side, Destiny can talk about, charging the barricades and all of that sort of stuff. These nudge, wink, wink threats of violence that they do. That's fine. That's fine. That's acceptable. But somehow the people that they're targeting, the minority groups that they're targeting, can't use that language. I saw the same thing here in Dunedin when a friend of mine, Sam Ovens, did some phenomenal protest posters for Palestine. Right. And he used some imagery that people were like, oh, you can't have guns on there, you can't talk about resistance, you can't talk about struggle or that. It's like they're under attack. You can't concern troll this sort of stuff. Yes, I do not think that this is going to be a whole lot of queer folk with sledgehammers looking for a fight. But you can use that language of struggle, of fight, of physical action. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just concern trolls.
And of course, speaking of concern trolls, whilst they're saying all this about hypothetical things that might happen, they're ignoring that there are people with injuries from Destiny's Church's last protest who actually used violence. There'll be no violence at this unless, for example, a counter protest sets up and there's conflict. But what this is being set up is a day for people to come together that want to defy Destiny. Now, if Destiny Church turn up to counter protest, anything could happen, and just being fair, from either side. Not saying that to support one or the other, in fact, endorse one or the other, but that's the world we live in. If it's left as it is, which is just a group of people, I guess, getting together to defy Destiny, there's not going to be any violence, because who would there be violence against? Because there's not going to be those people there to have violence against or to commit violence. So thank you very much, ACT. Thank you, David, for letting me know about this. I very much appreciate it, because now we can spread the word a bit and hopefully get some live streams going on Sunday afternoon. And if it wasn't for ACT, I might have missed it. So thank you, thank you, genuine thank you.
I mean, yes. I think one thing, if we're running a tally chart here of violence in against the queer community or from the queer community, shall we tally up how many queer folk have died at the hands of straight people?
Yep.
Versus how many straight people have died at the hands of the LGBTQI community. What
about we don't even go there? Why don't we just say, like, what about sexual violence, like against small children? Should we tot up the people who are either within Destiny Church who have been convicted of those crimes, or within the Christian church in general? Let's look at the Catholic priests. Let's tot up those. Let's tot up that kind of sexual violence, and then look at, for example, drag queens and see what those numbers are like. Let's look at the history of the Christian church, whether you go back 50, 100, 200 years, and the violence that's committed in the name of the God they pretend to serve, versus the history of the drag community and what they've done. It's like, come on. come on.
No, let's focus. That's too hard. That's too serious. So let us focus on the important issues that somebody put the word bash on a poster. We're talking about the real issues of the day, Pat. We're not here for hypotheticals.
Well, I just think that it's like sort out the shit in your own house first, people. In fact, there's you know me, Chewie, and I'm sorry if I sound a bit religious to people now, but I love the conversations. And there's this thing that a lot of church people say where they go, you hate the sinner, but not the sin. No, other way around. You love the sinner. Sorry, you love the sinner and you hate the sin. Meaning...
Destiny were using that phrase. They were misquoting it.
Well, let me explain, right? Very learned people other than me. I'm just stealing it off them. So you love the sinner and hate the sin. So basically what that means is we love everybody. We just don't condone their actions. Now, what the people like Destiny Church don't understand is that's completely unbiblical. So within the Bible, what it tells you to do is love the sinner. That means love everybody and hate your own sin. Like there's examples all the way through. There's this bit that they talk about, you don't take a speck of dust out of your neighbor's eye when you've got a plank of wood sticking out of your own. In other words, it's disproportionate what's in your eye compared to them. Leave them alone. There's the one that most people know from their, primary school days, which is, he that is without sin cast the first stone. In other words, that's a story about a woman who was a prostitute, and of the era, they were allowed to stone her. The law said they could put her to death. But then the teaching goes, that's right, you can do this. Legally, you're allowed to do this as long as you're all clean. As long as none of you have done anything that could also warrant this punishment. If there's somebody out there that hasn't done things to warrant this punishment, then yeah, go for it. And of course, they all walk away because it's basically talking about look after your own shit. Look after your own house. Get that all cleaned up first, then you can start worrying about other people. Heareth endeth the sermon. Sorry. What is that?
The Destiny poster. It's got a kid holding his severed head that says time to kill. So maybe it's all just bullshit and stirring up.
So okay, let's go the other way then. Let's call them AT-AT. All right? These guys are going to bash some people. These guys are going to kill some people. All right, so let's do that. If you want to use the words that are written down, these guys are overtly looking to murder someone. These guys looking to beat someone up. I would still stick with these ones over these ones. I know I'm being ridiculous. They're not meaning that. But if you're going to take it like that, then we're looking at murderers row right here. Supporting people being killed. Yeah, ridiculous. Redonkulous. Ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
That's true, Justin. That escalated real quick.
Welcome to BHN, where shit can get out of control real quick.
A couple of super chats that have come in. As a female, I hate flow week. Cramps suck. This is Chewie's doing. Tiffany says it's kind of weird how men no sane women would breed with have the most to say about their reproductive health. How men no sane women would breed with have all that to say. Yep. I mean, look at America as a perfect example and what's happened with their, their abortion rights and stuff. Supplemental, is the Honourable Mr. Seymour aware that we are currently in the 21st century? It's a very good supplemental. I like that. Good evening. Just a smidge late, says Nick. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate your super chat. Right. Don't get violent. We don't like competition, says Tiffany. That's true as well. And you guys are, and there's another one from Tiffany. We'll go there as well. Clearly, no one in that church had studied theology. Yeah. I think that's what you'll find with most of these religious organizations, especially amongst the Christian church that lean towards conservative. They don't know about that socialist they follow called Jesus. That guy that hung out with the most vulnerable and spent 3 years on a camping trip with people who were cast out of society, whilst all the church people, all the Brian Tarmakers of the world sat up in the temple and judged what he was supposedly doing, if you believe the stories.
Yeah, it's just silly. He had no plans to monetize it. People had to do that later.
Yeah, so weird. So weird. Hey, just a reminder as well, team, we've got the BHN shop open and running. I aim this weekend to have the hoodies back up there. But the t-shirts are all up and rocking. We've got a bunch of colours in there as well. We've got the Chewie Fufu, got the Nikki No Boats, the BHN and the buffer, the Tino Rangatiratanga buffer. Also, stickers are all there as well, all up for available. Some people have made some orders this week. I'll be doing some post-outs this weekend, doing some printing and some post-outs. So if you'll put an order in and you haven't heard back from us, you'll expect to hear back from us by the end of the weekend. We've got some time to do some pressing and some sending. Also, anyone who orders in the month of February a t-shirt now or a hoodie as of next week will also get a corresponding sticker thrown in there just for free because we love ya. So if you order a BHN hoodie, you'll get a BHN sticker, Chewie Fufu, buffer, and Nikki No Boats. You know how it goes. You know how it goes. And also a huge thanks to all our patrons who help us do what we do. I've said it before and I'll say it again. We rely on you guys for future planning. The merch is amazing. The super chats are so generous and so thankful, but we look at the patrons to go, okay, this is what we can do in 2 months from now. Assuming Chewie doesn't say something to offend you all and we lose half of you, but we're assuming that. So this is what we can look at for 2 months because it's more the sort of guaranteed bottom line, if you know what I'm saying. And 1 month ago exactly, Chewie, in fact, we did our first show this year on the 20th of January. It is now the 20th of February. I said on that show, I'm going to put out a big bold statement of 100 new patrons within the next 2 months. So technically we've made it till the end of next month. So it's 2 months and 10 days. We're 2/3 of the way there. I think we've had 64 new patrons in a month, which is amazing. If you're a bit of a lurker and you've been around for a while and you like what we do and you want to support us, really easy way to do it is to become a patron. I think it's as little as $5 a month, and it's as much as $250 a month. And then you get our enduring love and heartfelt feelings. In fact, next weekend we'll do a meetup as well. So next Saturday there'll be a meetup. It's online if you're a newbie, and we do it on a Saturday morning. And also,
sorry, Pat, I'm just going to jump in there. If I remember, because I will not be in town for that,
yeah,
I might jump in with a special treat.
Chocolate flavored treat.
Pat will have to probably fucking text me to remind me because my mind will be on other things. But
well, that sounds exciting.
Not promising, but it'll be fun. It'll be fun. I'll tell you after the show. We've got to keep them keen. But it'll be
keep
fun. It'll be a fun little surprise.
Treat them mean, keep them keen. And so we also you get your name in the credits and that kind of stuff. And most importantly, for most people who do it, I think you help us continue doing what we're doing. And just as a reminder, we are the only ones doing this. Yeah, you can put that quote up from Kiwi because I've got an idea about that if you want. So as a part of this, Kiwi's asking, the NZ Leftist Collective, when will the next one of those podcasts? We're trying to do one each month, which means we need to try and have it next weekend because that's the last weekend of the month. We didn't do one in January because I was selfishly getting married and going off on honeymoon and stuff, but we're going to try and do one each month. That's going to be the start. If it works out that it works and there's a desire for more of them, who knows? We might change that up. But at the moment, we're just looking for one a month. And which means I'm going to start contacting people this weekend. And I thought, Chewie, I might do it on a Sunday evening, bit more of a laid back kind of time because we don't want to kick the kids off Friday night again. So maybe we'll do it on a Sunday evening. When I say we, I don't mean you, Chewie. I mean the people who are and want to be involved, whether you're here or not. So there you go. All right, Kiwi. So looking for next weekend, looking for Sunday night. We'll see how it goes. Okay.
Hey, I know we're 20 minutes in and we haven't had a single story yet, but I just want to jump in first.
We just did. We did one on Destiny.
Yes. Okay. So I was wrong. Did you see New Zealand first Sneaky Wee rebrand today?
No.
Thanks to the guys on Mastodon that tagged me in this. By the way, it's amazing. We should print them and send them to Winston.
If we can find out who made it, I'd absolutely be up for putting that on a t-shirt.
Yep.
But we can buy the design off them, or we can give them a cut. Actually, speaking of work, Chewie, I would like to find someone. I guess I'm just putting this out there live. We'll do it live. I would also like to find someone who pays attention and watches Question Time. There are some people out there, some crazy people who are always watching Question Time. I would like to have more Question Time content on the show. I don't mean goes there, Gary. I can see you, Gary. I mean people who watch it on TV and stuff. If there's people out there or a person out there who'd like to be involved in helping us get more question time video on, then contact us and bighearingnews@gmail.com, and maybe we can connect something. I noticed, Chewie, that there are a couple of other smaller by subscriber base YouTube channels out there, and that's all they seem to do. But it gets a lot of reach and some big numbers for these places, and they're normally from the other side of the political spectrum. So I just wonder, do we need to have, from where we stand, having some of that content going out when it's going on? And to be honest, it involves watching a lot of it, and I don't have the time for it. So if there's someone out there that wants to look at doing that with us or for us, bighearingnews@gmail.com. Chad, that is amazing.
Oh, shit. Oh. Thank you very much, Chad. Yeah. You champion.
Sorry, I'm just getting text messages from people as well. Person who just texted me, who's obviously watching as well. I'll text you back after the show. Chad, look, that's amazing. Thank you. That's so generous. Let's just give Chad a moment, because that's very, very, very generous of you, Chad. Appreciate that. It's a little bit humbling when that kind of thing happens. Everyone's lovely. We appreciate all the super chats, whether it's $2 or I think 100 is the biggest one that we've got. But that's incredibly generous of you, Chad. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Giga Chad. Yeah. Chad,
I was just going to say, a little bird told me today that a certain Magenta may have almost got thrown out of the gallery.
Oh,
today.
Yeah, I saw that too.
For baby booing Judith Collins.
If Magenta's
which of course
watching,
I don't condone. I don't condone that. It's very, very bad. Don't do it again.
If Magenta, if you're watching Magenta, you're welcome to jump in and tell us your story. But let's also go to another person who sent me a tour clip today. The lovely Spider Hoof messaged me and said that I've just sent you something on your Twitter, and you should check it out. And I have checked it out, and it actually, even though it's incredibly short, it's formed 1/3 of the content that we've talked about in the actual show notes here. So Martima Davidson is talking about the number of houses that National is going to build. Christopher Luxon responds, talking about all the houses that they've built. Karen McAnulty goes, How do you call a liar without saying liar in a place that we're not allowed to say the word liar?
Rhetorical question.
Yeah, and then and then Christopher Bishop picks up the old baton, tries to defend his hairless leader, and it doesn't go so well.
Does he have confidence in the Minister of Housing to build 1,000 net new public homes in Auckland in 2026?
Yeah, look, he's built 2,000 houses already.
Thank you, sir. We need your guidance in this instance. When we have a minister, and in this instance the Prime Minister, making claims that he knows is not true, blatantly not true, in this House.
What would you call that, Pat?
What measures do we?
Yeah, what word is there? Is it maybe? Is this like, how somehow if there's a word in foreign, like in some foreign, and there's no direct translation for it into English? Is there like a word in another language that there's no direct translation for in English? So we don't know what word to use.
I'm just wondering if there's ever been a need for a word like that. Maybe it just hasn't been invented for someone that's not telling the truth.
Blatantly,
trying to be deceptive.
Yeah.
Misleading. There needs to be a better word.
Well, let's just listen to Kieran again. Maybe he gives us a clue to what kind of word that could be.
Minister, and in this instance, the Prime Minister, making claims that he knows is not true.
Making claims that are not true. What could that be? No, Prime Minister's not the right
someone
word.
that did that. No.
I don't know.
Blatantly not true.
Oh, blatantly not true.
In this House.
And specifically in this House. Like, we need a special word in this House. What would we do? Because like outside this House, you could call someone a fucking liar. But in this house, what can we do in this house?
Measures do we have to be able to pull this up? We cannot rely on him to come and correct it. We know that it's not true. What can we do?
Given the remark was made about apparently me, though that number is correct.
How many of the...
Okay, so you got that? So the number is correct.
Okay.
2,000 houses have been built. 2,000 houses, right? And here comes the I think the kids about 20 years ago would call it the mic drop, because he's saying those houses are being built. That number is correct.
How many of the social houses built between the 2023 general election and today were funded by this government?
Well, none.
Does he have confidence?
I just
All this
wheezed a
needed
little bit.
All this needed at the end. All this needed at the end was the Seinfeld boom, 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 and then that would have been perfect.
Of the social houses built between the 2023 general election and today were funded by this government?
Well, none.
Boom, boom, boom.
Oh, that's so good.
So let's say thanks to Spides for firing that through, but also to Rugby Intel, whose Twitter feed that actually is. There you go, Chewie. Lovely, lovely.
Look, this has just sprung to mind because it's the only question time clip that I have seen this week. So I'm not expecting you to have it, but Chloe Schwarbrick asking Christopher Luxon whether coal is a mineral. And his series of answers after that are some of the most disingenuous, I'm not going to answer that question nonsense I have ever seen. Yeah, even saying that's would have ever seen. That probably suggested I should watch more Christopher Luxon in Question Time as it is. The spin-off did an amazing write-up of Question Time this week. I think it's in a piece called Echo Chamber. But it's very clear that there's a lot of stuff that goes on in Question Time that just does not make it to mainstream news because it's silly or it's sniping and that sort of thing. But it definitely shows to the character of certainly the Prime Minister and Winston Peters. But yeah, the spin-off's done an excellent piece there. If folks haven't seen it, it's well worth a little read. It's quite a short piece.
Very good. We should have got Joel on to talk about his piece. It's always nice. Anyone ever sees a good piece, a good bit of coverage, feel free to email it through to us. We do that sometimes. We follow up. I mean, like we just showed you that clip tonight because someone brought it to our attention because we can't be everywhere. So there you go. Some examples of what we could use it. Telling pork pies.
I would also chuck into the pot doing a Luxon. We could make that.
Get out of here, you bish. Son of a bish. Dirty bish.
This bish.
Bish, please.
Bish, please.
That was actually the perfect time and it didn't come, did it?
Yeah, no, it was a perfect time to use that. We both missed it. Hey, just following on from what you were saying to the viewers, the listeners, that if you do have a piece that you think we should look at, do flick it to us at our Gmail. I had a couple of people message me about two quite good ideas, quite good stories that we need to probably spend some time in and just make sure we do a good job of it. It's great that people send it to me on things like Blue Sky and Discord and that sort of thing, but do send it through to the BHN. It creates a paper trail that both me and Pat can see.
Yeah. It's in the ballot with the super chat. It says, we used to call customers who would hum and ha. I guess that means when you're going, that sort of thing. Who would hum and ha when placing an order was called a humahara, which sounds like a motorbike, to code word Y service slow. Humahara. All right. Should we get on some other stuff? Is there anything else we want to tangent with at the start of the show?
No. Let's keep guessing what we'll tangent into next.
So some information out today, and we've got a couple of stories covered from 3 News, which is pretty concerning. The first one is based around child poverty targets. Now, I just want to show you something. July of last year, the government diluted their targets. So, so last year, middle of last year, give or take, they changed the targets for what they would deem to be a success. In fact, I've got 60 seconds here from that story just to remind you where we were at, right? So this is July of last year, the government, the current government, changing the targets for child poverty.
Under the Child Poverty Reduction Act, introduced by the Labor government in 2018, the government's required to set medium and long-term targets for reducing child poverty against 3 measures. The 2023-24 target for children living in material hardship set by the previous government was 9%. However, Minister for Child Poverty Reduction Louise Upston has set the new target at 11%.
So this is what they did in July last year. They went, we're going to get a target which is easier to hit. Now, if you're being generous, one might argue they needed to make it easier to hit, better to hit an easier target than miss a hard one. But for whatever reason, they decided to water down their targets. That it's not just 1 or 2 kids either when you start watering it down.
According to Parliamentary library research, the 2 percentage point difference amounts to an estimated 17,000 more children living in material hardship. While the Children's Commission analysis, released exclusively to 3 News, estimated it could be up to 23,730 using more up-to-date population figures.
This is the government accepting around 24,000 more children are going to be in material hardship. That's unacceptable.
So that was the story from the middle of the year. So there was targets that governments needed to hit for child poverty to basically say we are being successful with child poverty, you know? And guess what, Chewie? Go on, see if you can guess.
It's got worse.
They
worse,
missed their targets. Now, it's one of these examples where we will measure them by their own words. They made the target easier for themselves by being happy enough by saying if there's only another 20,000 kids in poverty, that will be an okay result for us. And yet they still missed it.
The government's child poverty report card is out and it's a fail. Stats NZ has released its child poverty report, which shows progress to combat poverty has stalled. But the minister is calling this an encouraging report. Glenn McConnell with the story.
Stocking the shelves, a luxury that thousands of families just can't afford. 156,000 tamariki, our smallest and most precious New Zealanders, are going without.
What we have seen over the last few years is that we are failing to make progress on reducing child poverty.
Here's the government's official assessment on child poverty reduction.
None of those 3 targets had been met.
We are still failing on child poverty reduction.
Under the law, the government has 3 targets for child poverty reduction, and
it is interesting that they say under the law. Now, they're saying the bill, the law. But if it was something that was legally binding, what happens if the government misses it? I'm sure that's not how they're using the word law there, but under the law,
straight to jail.
Do not pass go, do not collect 200.
Straight to jail.
So the law meaning the law that they've made in the land, law of the land, as opposed to the legal law, criminal law.
on all 3, it has failed. The government is behind target on boosting disposable income for families, both before and after housing costs, and it has fallen behind for reducing material hardship as well.
You notice in this graph, or this graphic show there, under 2020, 2021, there's those big green things. Those big green things with a white line in them. That's it's a bit like a V, but one side of the V is a bit taller than the other side. I don't think I've ever seen those before under a national government. I'm not entirely sure what they are. I mean, this is under a Labor government, the column here. This is Labor, and there's these weird green V things. These I know what this is. This is a cross or an X. This means no. This government, no.
Very familiar with no.
Yeah, the previous government missed. They got a no for disposable income before housing costs, but they got this other strange, I don't know what you'd call that, a capital V something. So it seems to me that the previous government was at least 2/3 different from this. Maybe they're a good sign, because if this is the bad sign, maybe that means they were 2/3 better. Maybe that's what it is. I'm not sure. As I said, I'm just not used to seeing that green little V thingy with the high V under a national government. But it's interesting that under a Labour government, there's two. I mean, green for go. Maybe it's a stoplight. There's two greens, which is better.
But Pat, remember, these kids deserve this. They're both poor and not of voting age, and they can't work because of the woke legislation that has booted them out of the mines and factories. Yeah. So really, do we care?
Yeah, not sure.
Sorry, got taken over by the ghost of fucking some horrible bastard. It's definitely not how I think.
Right.
But yeah, go on. No, go on.
No, you go on. I'm just waiting for your pearls of wisdom, Chi. Off you go.
The two thoughts that I have, right, is if you were going to water down targets, right, that's you're just walking into a trap at that point, because if you're going to water them down, at least fucking hit them. Like, I would be happy if a government said, look, we hit some really tough targets, we set some tough targets for ourselves and we didn't get there, but child poverty is trending downwards. We're on the right track. Whereas to water this down and then still not hit it, and also not be able to say, I don't know if it is trending down or not, that would be a way that they could say this, saying, hey, look, it is still trending downwards. We are still making an impact. There are less kids in poverty than when we started. But they haven't said that, which means it's probably not the case. Well, the other thought that springs to mind is whenever a government quotes a percentage or changes the percentage, I think in every case, there should also be the number that represents. Like, if they're going to talk about, there's, I don't know, 150,000 gang members in New Zealand, then show me the percentage of the population that is, so I can weigh up whether that's important. Is it a big scary number, or is it the small number with the thing beside it? But we need to see both to give context. But they'll hide behind whichever one it is. Like, if it's a good big number, we'll see the big number. We won't see the little percentage point. If it's a bad one, we'll hide behind the percentage point. Like, this is just something that should be standard whenever these guys are talking about anything, any government.
That ghost attack you just had, Carl wants to know if it was the ghost of Thatcher.
The children crave the mine.
A couple of things, yeah. The first is, you'll be pleased to know, Chewie, there is a graph coming up later on in the story, and we can see how it's trending. But the other thing is, I mean, I'm no mathematician or nothing. I don't know numbers. I don't know how it works, but I just have this ponderance. I wonder, with this whole kind of no, like what $17 billion could have done in this situation. Like, my understanding is, I don't exactly know why, but for some reason the government coffers are down $17 billion than they were before this government came in. I wonder if maybe they've lost it down the back of the couch. Maybe they bought one too many lotto tickets. I don't know where it actually went, but I wonder if they had that back, that $17 billion that's just disappeared through no one's fault or no one's decisions, if that could have possibly helped this issue. It's just, I know it's a crazy thought, but I just thought I'd throw it out there, you know.
Just a mystery.
They might be unable to afford fresh fruit or vegetables. They have to put off going to the doctor or the dentist because of the cost. Or they might get an unexpected bill of $500 and they just wouldn't be able to pay it.
Those are children living without the basics. SATS New Zealand's official report showed that since 2021, material hardship has been increasing.
So let's look at the graph. very, very high under the last, who was in charge in 2015? That was the blue guys, yeah? But, it dropped significantly under the blue guys, which is good. It kind of went up a bit and it was trending up. And then under the red guys, she started to trend down and trend down and trend down and trend down. And then what happened under the blue guys again? Whoop, whoop, whoop. She's starting to go up. So we have a couple of patterns here. We have a good drop off under the John Key blue guys, then a little bit of a starting to climb, and then a Jacinda Ardern government comes in and that starts to trend down. Then the blue guys come in and it starts to trend up again. I wonder if anything could be read into that about trending up under blue and trending down under red. I wonder if there's anything that can be drawn from those trends that we can make some, statements about the policies behind those colours, Chewie. I don't know. What do you think?
My mind is just locked on to the fact that they told us before that the difference between 9 and 11% is potentially 23,000 children. And I'm looking at a graph that is hovering somewhere between 10 and 15%.
Mm.
So that's a shitload of children that don't have shoes, full bellies, aren't healthy, aren't in a warm home. Like that's the reality. They can hide behind the numbers and graphs and percentage points. That's what they're talking about when you're talking about child poverty. You're talking about children that won't even get, like when you talk about climbing a ladder out of their situation, their ladder is missing 5 rungs at the bottom. You are looking at a future underclass. You are looking at the recruits 10, 15 years down the road for the gangs that this government seems to want to be really focused on stopping. They're growing the recruits.
I think you've probably got one of these things too, Chewie. I've got this thing in the back of my neck called my bullshit nerve. And every now and again it goes, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. And as I sit here and think about that level of drop over 1 year, my bullshit nerve's going off. I'll do some research whilst we're watching this, but I just wonder. Is
that when they moved the goalposts?
If they decided to measure, if they decided to measure poverty differently, because blue, I mean, like it's trending down, trending up. It's not a good thing, but the trends are very, very small. I mean, what happened in 2015 under a national government to see this? My bullshit nerve's going off a bit, and I'm just lending my initial thoughts towards, I wonder if they changed how they measure children in material hardship. So I'll do a little bit of looking up, and that way watch some more of this story, yeah?
Mm. These results are for the year ending June 2024, the crossover of Labour and national governments.
We took steps to prioritise our poorest children at that time. Did we get as far as what we would have liked to? No, certainly we didn't, but that work needs to continue.
Both the Prime Minister and Minister for Child Poverty Reduction, Louise Upston, were missing from Parliament as these results came out. But the Minister issued a statement.
Strange, eh? They weren't there. I wonder why not. Just coincidence, probably. Just coincidence. Just coincidence.
Saying it was encouraging to see no significant increase in child poverty growth. No big increase, but no relief for families struggling to put food on the table.
There you go, Chewie. Yeah. Thoughts anymore?
Today was the last sitting.
Oh,
got it.
Did you know that? Yeah, look, if a government came in and went, we've spent a huge amount of money combating child poverty. We have poured money into low decile schools, into funding health clinics in the area to make sure that they're not in a food desert, that we have the training initiatives to make sure that people get into work and all of that. So if we've solved all of that, we spent an ungodly amount of money, but we've fixed it now. We've broken the cycle. That's when someone can go, maybe we could dedicate some of this money to tax cuts in some way. We've fixed the problem. You know, all of the people that work in these areas, the social providers, the NGOs, the schools, teachers, they all know what needs to happen, and it takes money. It takes money, and it takes time to break people out of a path. It's some of the same language that the government used around boot camps, right? They want to get people back on track. What if they never went off the track?
Yeah.
What if the people that had shitty upbringings and had terrible parents and made shitty choices and that sort of thing, and then brought children into the world, got more help? Because it wasn't about rewarding their bad decisions or their bad luck or you know, all of that sort of thing. They just didn't have the advantages that everybody else had. They started off behind everybody else. But we didn't care about that. We cared about their kids. It's all about breaking the cycle. And whenever we see something like this where they go, we're comfortable with a higher percentage of desperately poor children. Like, personally, I think if you're a person that can utter that sentence in all seriousness, two big people should come in from a different room, grab you, drag you out to the car park, and execute you as an example to others, and then give that portfolio to someone else and see if they can say something more positive.
Execute you?
Maybe that would fix it.
See,
I think this whole thing of going, oh yeah, it's a couple of percentage points, it's nothing. We won't even get there. Don't worry about it. When you're talking about real human lives and human futures, it's ghoulish.
Yeah. I haven't been able to find any information, easily accessible information, on changing the ways that they measure child poverty. But I will do a bit of looking around afterwards. It wasn't anything that I thought of. You know, sometimes you get right in the moment, you kind of go, wonder if that drop off just looked a bit too massive.
It's too big. I can't remember someone dropping pallet loads of cash into poor areas around that time. I'm pretty sure that would have made the news.
Yeah. And because like what you're saying, right? If 2%, let's just say 2% is 20,000 people. I mean, that, 10,000 per percent. That means, if I can find that graph, there it is. Found it. That means that's from about that's about 17% to maybe 12. So that's 50,000 kids out in the space of a year. It just doesn't ring. It doesn't look. I'm actually not saying, because I don't know, but it doesn't ring true. It doesn't feel accurate. What happened in 2015 to all of a sudden increase, the comfortability of 50,000 children so much so? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's. I would love to see what outside of changing their targets and missing them. Yeah. I would love to be in a room to hear the discussion of like, oh well, what are we going to try? Obviously, what we're doing isn't even holding things in place. It's literally getting worse. What can we do? And I want to be in that room so I can scream as the key is the schools in the area. You drop all of the support on the schools in the area. You up their teachers. You up their funds. You feed people from them. That's you anchor a community around that. You get to learn to know the parents. The teachers all know this. The social workers all know this. Why does the government keep on missing it?
Yeah. All right. We've got a special guest about to join us shortly, but before we do that, Bilbo just says, here's 99 cents. 99 problems.
Oh, no, it's even better than that. The message that goes with it is message retracted.
Oh.
So I think that means we've got to give them the 99 cents back.
Fair enough. Peter says poverty this winter will be especially hard. Exaldir says Chewie possessed by the ghost of Thatcher.
Yeah, there was a sense of stale urine before I got taken over there. That's how you know that Maggie's after you.
Do you remember what happened? That was like one of the very few times in the UK that they refused to do the #1 song on Top of the Pops, because after she died, #1 song in the UK got to Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead. Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead. And so they wouldn't play it on all the charts, which is pathetic. Mr. Arvids, the children yearn for the mines.
That's true.
Nikki No Growth, thank you for the super chat. If you want to understand bills and legislation, load the documents into Notebookum, and AI will explain it while you can ask questions. Jeremy says, thank you for the super chat. Chloe Swarbrick, question to Prime Minister, is coal a mineral? And I think there's been a couple of new ones popped down. Oh, Bilbo again. RNZ 2015 government targets child poverty. Okay, there's a thanks for the research. We'll have a look. And Tiffany says, I wouldn't trust their data. They selectively take facts on. Yeah, I think that's probably fair as well. Let's say good day to Magenta. Kia ora, Magenta. How are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Just got home from doing the groceries.
We have heard you've been causing some trouble in Wellington, and we thought if you were around, which you seem to be, you could share your experience.
Yeah, I mean, it was very like heat at the moment. It just kind of came out, to be honest, because I mean, I was there with friend of the show, Gary, and he'd kind of predicted that there was probably going to be quite a bit of issues just throughout the questions, because all of the questions were, you know, either said Aotearoa or were by women, from women. So we knew that that was probably going to be an issue. And then
trouble.
Yes, exactly. And then Jan Tinetti asked for the Minister for Women, does she have the confidence that the government is advocating on behalf of and prioritising issues pertaining to women? Which Judith Collins was responding to, and she was a mess.
Do you have any idea what time it was? Because I've got the page here. I could look up the moment and see if I can hear you in the background, which would be
Actually,
most hilarious.
I'll open the Discord because I think Citizen Gold got a group chat with some of the BHN people, and someone's already found it. So I will find that for you in a minute.
Okay.
You definitely can hear me. Kiwi Pulse was live streaming, I believe. That's where I got sent one. But yeah, hopefully we could, because yeah, she had some atrocious answers. Like they were talking, obviously referenced the period cup comments that were made.
The menstrual
cups. Yeah, exactly. And so her response was, "Oh well, that's not something I have to worry about anymore."
Oh god!
Like
too much information. Too much information.
And also, so what? You shouldn't be like. It shouldn't matter whether it's pertaining to you or relevant to you anymore. Like it should still be important. So it was just strange. And then basically, there was quite a few supplementary questions back and forth. And then she said something along the lines of like, "Well, you know, I'm a woman and you should support we shouldn't be tearing each other down. Women should just support other women." And then like on the House side, they started clapping, including some of the people up in the public gallery. And so I was not really having a piece of that and decided to just boo really loudly. And then security came over and was like, "Oh, we're gonna have to ask you to leave." And I was like, "Well, they were doing it, so I thought I was allowed to do it."
True.
Like, I genuinely thought that. I was like, well, they made noise, so I made noise. But it was definitely satisfying to know that I booed Judith Collins really loudly.
Cool. We'll have to have a play and have a listen to it. But it's an interesting point you raise, actually. If some people are making noise, even if it's an appropriate noise, then you should be able to do the opposite. If it's just a level of noise, I don't see why it's a problem, whether it's a boo or a clap.
Yeah, exactly. It shouldn't be whether I support them or not. I mean, it's already frustrating enough having to listen to all of the non-answers today. I don't think there was a single question answered.
Yeah, it's amazing to watch that, isn't it? And were you rocking your BHN gear?
No, I actually wasn't wearing my BHN stuff today because, well, other than the shirts are in the wash, okay?
No, it's probably a good thing because it's more like you're undercover. So I've just applied. I've just applied to the press council, the media council, to get an official kind of thing. And if they think, oh, there's those guys who always protest in the gallery, maybe that's
we don't want to do that, obviously.
So have you got the footage? Have you got it handy, or do you need to find it?
Yes,
and send
I
it to
can
us?
I've sent. There's a link. I don't know if one of you wanted to open it up. I think that's queued up around the time that. I think it's a little bit before I start yelling.
Okay, give me.
Are you getting it, Pat?
Yep, I got it. I'm getting it.
Yep, cool.
I do that. Let's have a look. Oh, something going on there.
1D, regardless of whether they are deemed to be public policy. In the case of the fast track approvals bill,
I think it's gone back to the beginning for some reason.
Back to the beginning.
Yeah,
It's way
I'll find the timestamp.
No, there's a timestamp.
Oh,
You 49 minutes and 14.
How can she have confidence the government is advocating for women when her colleagues mock perimenopausal women, dismiss the causes for the gender pay gap, appoint an anti-abortion lobbyist as the Minister for Health, and tell women what to put in their vagina? And why has she, as the Minister for Women, stood by and done nothing?
I'll tell you what, that question is seriously going to affect my reading of answers that are given in the House from.
I think it's going that question is seriously going to affect me being able to get to sleep tonight. Judith Collins in vagina. What?
From this point on, the Honourable Judith Collins.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. What a stupid question. And the last thing we need is for women in this House to be belittling other members of Parliament who are trying to do their job. Just stand up for women when they ask you to.
I think I just got it.
I got it.
Thank you. We'll just we'll now wait. Point on.
I think it's amazing because I don't need to worry about those sorts of things anymore, and I'm just so grateful for the fact that this man is actually interested in it, because I sure as hell am not.
Problem though, when you say it, he's interested in it. Are you still talking about because this man's interested in it? It's there's
Yeah,
there's
it was
some
also
difficult
just
things,
it was
yeah.
gross. Just trying to say, oh, at least a man cares about menstrual products. Like the bar shouldn't be in hell.
That wasn't that. The whole thing wasn't. This is a man that cares about women and cares about the affordability of menstrual products. This is a man that wants the government to spend less and doesn't think that poor people should buy these things. They shouldn't be given money to do this. We need to, like, he has no idea. And just to be clear, I have no idea, but I can read something from someone that does have an idea and go, well, if you can't afford these products, if you can't afford those, can you now also afford to go and get a fucking moon cup?
Also, not everyone can use them. There's like a whole a corridor that we could have about how, certain people with certain disabilities cannot physically use certain products. So to assume that it's just an easy catch-all is already, I guess I don't say catch-all, but.
So what the issue there is a man that has thought that he's come up with this fucking brilliant idea that decades of women have somehow missed. And he's come in to save the fucking day and has got all embarrassed about the fact that he is wrong because he has never taken the time to truly understand what people have to deal with. It's not like it's all secret. It's not like people are all shy about it. If you talk to the right people, they'll fucking tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Did he consider that some people first menstruate under the age of 10?
Mm-hmm.
Should they get a moon cup?
Yeah,
you know what that would involve. It's just crazy that she is trying to defend this sort of stuff.
I mean, unfortunately, it doesn't surprise me. She's clearly one of those people who's just kind of taken on and internalized all of that old school rhetoric. Because just the way that she's like, oh, I don't care. I don't have to worry about periods anymore. Like, love that for you, Judith. Actually, I'm so glad that you can't procreate anymore. But like, you know, there are still people who do. Exactly. And I just, yeah, her attitude was just pissing me off. And that's why when they started clapping, I just, the foo-foo came out. You know how it does.
I think we need a green colorway.
I'm just enjoying putting up all the chats talking about Jerry's mangina and other things as well. This has been quite fun just sitting back here. But I have to tell you something. If you had bet me $1 million today, I would not have taken it that on tonight's show we'd be going into detail about moon cups and menstrual cycles. I didn't think that. I would never have picked it in a million years. But look at us. Here we are.
Right. That's progress. That's progress. BHN is getting woker and woker. Also, I had lunch at Parliament today, and all the food there, super woke. Just going to put that out there.
Oh.
I saw Shane Sigaretti eating some very, food from the woke cafe. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for jumping in, Midget. Is anything
no
tomorrow night? Do you want to tell us about anything for tomorrow night?
I'm actually not sure fully what's on the cards for tomorrow night. I'm sure there'll be tons for us to talk about. I mean,
yeah,
there's always something going on, but yeah, nothing else from me tonight. Just enjoying coming off the high of yelling at Judith.
Yep, very good, well done. When you get to Luxon, that's like the back into the A team, you know. That's
right.
You're in the reserves at the moment, having a crack at some of the more, and then you get to Luxon and Seymour. And what are you looking at there for, Chewie? What did I say?
Have you booed Luxon, Pat?
Yeah.
So raise your hand in this group if you have booed Christopher Luxon. When did you boo Luxon?
When I saw him at
When did you boo Luxon?
6 years ago.
Sick. Oh, okay.
He wasn't there.
6 years ago.
I'd like to continue this conversation, but it's time to move on.
Yes.
Have fun tomorrow night, Magenta, and we're going to keep going. All right, dude.
Yes.
See you.
Cheers.
I boo Christopher Luxon every day in my heart. Is that enough?
You get up, salute the flag, boo Luxon, carry on with your day.
Yep. We're going to finish up on a bit of politics tonight. This is a really interesting one. It's quite a long. I know we never talk politics, so this will be a bit new. Hopefully, people will stick by us with this conversation. But first of all, let's just possibly do this. I think we missed Exaldia's earlier. That says set up and knock it out of the park. I think we missed it. I apologise, Exaldia. Jeremy says Judith Collins. I don't need to worry about that anymore. T-shirt maybe. And look at this. You know, we're just talking about Aotearoa Tuatahi. Appears that perhaps Guru is the one who did it.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
He's the one that flicked it to me on Mastodon.
Nice. Mastodon. Are you still on Mastodon? I thought Mastodon had died. Is it dying? It's dying.
I do put the clips up there. In all honesty, I don't spend as much time on it as I do on Blue Sky. But yeah, it is definitely still there.
Thank you, Guru. We might need to talk to you about getting some, I think they're called Illustrator AI, some AI files. It's hard when you're using an Illustrator because you're talking about AI files and everyone thinks you're talking about artificial intelligence these days. Okay, let's get into this last story. Real interesting kind of roundup by old mate, TV3 senior reporter, whose name just jumps out in my head because she blocked me on Twitter a while ago. Anyway, I'll come back once the story starts. And having a bit of a crack at Luxon for not being there. But also, did you know Mr. Peters voted for a policy today from Labor, or this week I should say, from Labor, and one from the Greens as well. Wondering if Mr. Peters is actually being truthful and just supporting good ideas, or wondering if he's kind of signalling Mr. Seymour, so when I'm no longer Deputy Prime Minister, just be aware of what I can actually do in the House, sonny boy. Just wondering.
Today was the last sitting day of Parliament before a recess, and wasn't it obvious? Winston Peters doubled down on his inference that immigrants shouldn't be allowed to refer to New Zealand as Aotearoa. While
I don't know why. I've been thinking about this today. What does he think he's getting out of this? it's just talking to his base. It's actually not even his base. It's a portion of his base. It's his base from 10 years ago who used to talk about, foreigners buying houses. He's talking to that part of his base. Because the other part of his base, the cookers and stuff, some of those guys are fine with Māori language, they're actually a part of who they are as well. So it's intriguing that he would double down, especially when he gets made to look like such a fool. When he gets challenged, shouldn't all New Zealanders be treated the same? He has to say yes to that. So why are you giving Ricardo some crap and he can't really answer that then? So it's an obvious falsehood that he's doing, and I'd like to understand why.
Judith Collins was forced to defend her male colleagues' comments about menopause, period products, and why women allegedly can't work as late as men. And our senior political correspondent Jenna Lynch reports the Prime Minister missed the whole thing.
When the PM's away, his deputy gets a say.
The name of this country was always New Zealand until Pemba-Rees
decided. Hang on. Was always?
Yeah, because he was there at the start.
But was always. What about pre-European? That's part of the word always. So Mr. Peters was always. In fact, if you totted it up as to has it been longer been New Zealand or Aotearoa, which would have a longer history, I wonder. They think that Māori got here between 1,000 and 800 years ago. We were called New Zealand, it was in the 1770s that Abel Tasman came through. So let's say 250 years ago.
He did a drive-by.
Always?
And named it after a shitty Dutch province. It's so dumb.
This is the guy who's taken on board the cookers conversations about words needing to be accurate. What does the dictionary say about the word woman? What does the dictionary say about the word always? Always been New Zealand? Always.
Oh, Pat, could go in a different direction.
Always.
The original settler name for New Zealand was Māori land.
Yeah.
Okay. Well. Oh, could you imagine? Could you imagine just the sound of popcorn in the distance and it's just people's brains exploding?
Always. Let's just have a listen again.
The name of this country was always New Zealand until Pemba-Rees decided in the 1880s that he would call it Aotearoa.
Doubling down on his name of New Zealand war while speaking on the Prime Minister's behalf.
We are going to not make a name change for this country until in the democratic traditions of this.
Just remember the man sitting right to his right, who is actually looking away, and looks like he's looking away in shame. He swore his oath to Aotearoa. He didn't mention the word New Zealand. Just think last week, was it Tama Pōtaka, who was this week in the House, who talked about Aotearoa? Peter said nothing. It's just so blatantly see-through. Do you know what I mean?
Great nation, we first consult and get the agreement of the New Zealand people.
Oh, can we just suggest 79 years old, I don't think anyone would disagree. I've been around Winston Peters since, for 20 years now, basically. I lived in Tauranga in 2003-ish, 2002. So I've been around Winston Peters for a long time. There's no one, probably even himself, who would say that he hasn't slowed down somewhat. But listening to him speak now, listening to him fumble now, this is something new. 79.
The agreement of the New Zealand people.
Yesterday, Winston Peters argued Ricardo Menendez March should not refer to the country as Aotearoa, as he'd only migrated here in 2006.
How long do you have to be in New Zealand before Winston Peters thinks of you as not an immigrant but a New Zealander?
Yeah.
You know, our policy's been that if you arrive here legally, you have all the same rights and privileges as someone who's been here.
So the same rights and privileges as Tama Pōtaka, to call it Aotearoa, the same rights and privilege as Shane Jones, who swore an allegiance to Aotearoa. This is what I'm saying. It's so transparent. It's so transparent, I don't actually understand what's going on. People aren't this dumb. People aren't this stupid. Because even if people wanted to support him, his own followers, as soon as you say those two things, it's going to be a bit like, oh, yeah, well, don't really have an answer for that. Oh, I can't really tell. It's so transparent. It's so transparent, I don't understand.
Yeah, so the follow-up question to this, right, he's answered, if you arrived legally, you've got the same rights and privileges as every other person in this country. Right, so that runs completely counter to what Shane Jones said yesterday, which he arrived too recently to have the rights to call it Aotearoa.
Yeah, because tama pōtaka is Māori.
Winston, or is Winston saying that he didn't arrive legally, that he jumped the fence between us and Mexico? Where are you right now, Winston?
Yeah, that's the other thing you're hinting at. Maybe it's so transparent, and hopefully he can see that, because if he can't see that it's so transparent, then that says something more about Mr. Peters and his mental acuity right about now.
In terms of genealogy speaking, 1,000 years.
Again, in the absence of the Prime Minister, Peters answering on his behalf.
Do Winston Peters' comments suggest that New Zealanders who were born overseas should have fewer rights than those who were born here? And if so, will he condemn that?
Look, it is very, very clear that Mr. Peters made no such suggestion at all.
But Peters' identity war was overtaken today as Labor drilled the coalition on certain colourful comments male MPs had made about women.
Can she have confidence that the government is prioritising issues pertaining to women when Police Minister Mark Mitchell joked in an interview, "I don't know if a gang member wants to deal with a perimenopausal woman"?
Judith Collins letting the eyebrow do the talking.
The look would probably do as an answer, actually.
For now.
And I fully support him in standing up against the gangs. As for his little statement, I'll deal with that later.
As I'm a woman and a mother, I'm not his mother, I don't answer for him, so, that's the end of that.
Asked to defend David Seymour, saying the gender pay gap exists because, quote, you have to be there late at night to make the sale, put in the extra hours and do all the extra things that women are often unavailable to do.
I think we need to stick to the stuff that's really important for most women, like not living with violence, having a fair go at work, all those sorts of things.
What about being told that the gender pay gap is because we can't work late because we've got other responsibilities?
Yeah, I must say that I've never sort of noticed that one myself because I've always worked late.
Finally, asked about Simon Court advising a woman on menstrual products.
I'm not sure if you're aware, or if people that you engage with are aware of the Menstrual cup, which is a reusable product available for about $15 from Chemist Warehouse. Do you think if people...
This is like an advert for Chemist Warehouse. What the hell's going on here?
...knew more about how to access products like that, that this concern, this anxiety you have might be somewhat mitigated?
And tell women what to put in their vagina. And why has she, as the Minister for Women, stood by and done nothing?
What a stupid question. And the last thing we need is for women in this House to be belittling other members of Parliament who are trying to do their job. Just stand up for women when they ask you to.
New Zealand First rolling in for backup.
I think we're all equally shocked at the way the House has been demeaned by that sort of behaviour. It's appalling.
But that xenophobic, verging on racist behaviour, that's cool. No problems there.
Imagine if a man got up and started talking about the converse.
You're taking your life into your own hands if you talk about women's issues, and the other side of the House is Judith Collins.
But they're not so monogamous in support when it comes to their 8 votes. Yesterday, New Zealand First voted for a Labour Party bill, which would mean not paying an employee wages would be defined as theft.
You can't be jealous about a good idea, and it's quite possible now and again the Labour Party come up with a good idea.
Would you ever work with them again?
So you're going to I can see you coming a mile off.
New Zealand First followed that vote up with supporting a Green Party bill. Listen closely for the National Party MP calling their coalition partners New Zealand First crazy.
New Zealand First. 8 votes in favour.
Crazy.
Well, he might have had a bad night.
Is the coalition all good?
What was that? I didn't see that. It's news to me.
Barbara.
I was out the back with a pack of Benson and Hedges. Didn't see what was going on.
It's like Goma Pile. It's like, what, where, what, who, when, what, sorry, pardon me, what was that?
I didn't see that. It's news to me.
Barbara Kuriger saw it. She actually called it out in the Speaker's chair that you can't call out crazy when a vote's taking place.
Oh, right. Oh, no, you're not allowed to...
Who was that?
Oh, look, I actually honestly don't know.
The Mental Health Minister says the relationship is so intact, it's bordering on romantic.
Yeah, look, I think we've got a lot of love for each other. And, I mean, it was shown on Valentine's Day, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah.
I wonder if they're gentle lovers, or not. I don't know.
So,
Well, I mean, it was Valentine's Day, and that's a day to show love.
with New Zealand First,
Well, just everyone.
lovers in the air, apparently.
Now, we don't normally show the commentary. We don't normally show the commentary, but we're going to, because she has a bit of a crack. I mean, remember, we have said in the past of Jenna Lynch about her relationship with ACT and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it does sometimes see that ACT it's just an opinion, get handled perhaps a bit more gently, but she does have a fair old crack at Winston and Luxo Flakes as well. And she makes a couple of comments here, and it's a little bit like, oh, that's fairly cutting. Let's have a listen to her commentary.
Wow. Jenna, what does the Prime Minister make of all this?
Yeah, I'd love to tell you, but for the second week running, the Prime Minister has decided not to front for the media on a Thursday and Friday. That is unusual. John Key and Jacinda Ardern made themselves available most weekdays, most of the time. Ardern less so near the end of her Prime Ministership as that popularity was waning. To go 2 weekdays without engaging with the media is A, lacking in scrutiny, but B, a real missed opportunity to communicate with the public as much as he might see value in communicating with his TikTok audience. Being absent from mainstream news for a couple of days may risk the Prime Minister looking like he's not working as much as he says he is. After all, Jacinda Ardern was called a part-time Prime Minister for going on a Prime Ministerial trip to Tokelau. The polls are clearly showing that Christopher Luxon is struggling to get his message across. The two coalition partners are all too happy to gobble up the airtime and headlines. And if he leaves a void for them to fill, he may also leave votes on the table for them to grab as well.
Yeah. And I mean, that's all fair commentary, yeah? Yeah. So Chewie, I believe I have been unblocked on Twitter by Jenna, so maybe she's been watching, maybe she's been hearing what we're saying, passing it on. That's fine. Jenna,
hey, what do you know what the bill that New Zealand First voted for that the Greens put forward?
I don't know the one that the Greens put forward, but the one for people who missed it, the one from Labor was withholding wages being treated as a criminal act, theft, and so they supported that.
But that's great.
Yeah, it's good.
That's no criticism there. Do you think just with that last MP, was it Ducey?
Yeah,
that wandered out. Do you think he just wandered through that foyer and just went, I'm just going to go out there, talk to the media, and just be completely baffling? I'm going to talk about Valentine's Day. Nobody will know what's going on. Perfect crime.
I think he might have been high, possibly, but that's just a guess. I don't know. And he was going to go from that conversation to eat some cookie time cookies. I think that's probably what was happening.
The other thing there, just Chris Bishop sort of going, I don't know, I didn't see what happened. And he was out the back with a packet of Benson Hedges. I think it'd be better he's out in the Parliamentary food court trying to learn how to kickflip, doing the rad skateboard tricks, wasn't paying any attention. I saw a piece, again, the spin-off of knocking it out of the park at the moment. They made the call today that we need to focus on a particular MP and make sure that he is safe. Andy Foster, former Wellington mayor.
Your favourite.
Current member of New Zealand First and sitting in the House.
Yeah.
Is an immigrant. He's from England. He's from Kent.
Maybe he's
in his maiden speech,
England.
He did part of his maiden speech in Māori. I'm just wondering if anybody has run that past Winston, since he's a recent arrival and maybe doesn't have the rights to Te Reo. So yeah, maybe someone should just make sure that Winston's unaware of that.
Post yesterday from Marama Davidson on the Green, the right to repair bill passes significant step. It doesn't specifically say this is the one that New Zealand First supported, but it says I'm also grateful to those political parties who voted in favour of this bill. And I guess that's it, because if it was only Labour, the Greens and Te Pāti Māori, there's not enough numbers there. So if that got passed, that'll be the one. So the right to repair from the Greens, that bill got passed.
So again, that's another, that's not a sexy piece of legislation, but it's a good piece of legislation.
Yeah.
And I think that does sit quite well with New Zealand First, that that's something that they would support. So, yeah.
The Duke says, if you ain't woke, then you're a joke. Duke von Vagabond. Peter Syme says maybe Winston's going after ACT voters. Yeah, but even still, like ACT voters, the conspiracy theorists, the blimmin' tin pot hat wearing, foil hat wearing guys, to go, all you need to do is go, yeah, but what about your guy sitting next to you who uses the word Aotearoa all the time without saying New Zealand? What? Yeah, and so there's just, it's so transparently bullshit. Unless Winston Peters really just thinks that all those voters are as dumb as that. They are as dumb as they get given the red meat. Well, Aotearoa, bloody hell, and then that's all he needs to do. You know, there's that episode, I'll have to find it actually because it would be good on the soundboard. There's an episode where Marge Simpson's running for office, like to become mayor or something like that. And she realizes if she says 9/11 and nothing else, they all cheer. And so she starts talking and she just goes, 9/11, woohoo, and 9/11, woohoo. And, you know, the joke being just give that meat to that part of the population, then they will scream for you. And maybe that's what that is. That as long as he says the equivalent of 9/11 to a group, then they will bay. Kiwi says New Zealand First is beyond cooked, and it's in the ballot. It says this Sunday at 8 p.m. on the Order Paper podcast, we'll be covering the Crime Theft by Employer Amendment Bill, where you'll see Grant McCallum, Cry Wolf, join myself and Kiwi Bird this Sunday. I didn't know we were doing adverts for other podcasts, Chewie, but no, I guess fair enough.
They do adverts for us, pod. They do adverts for us. It's fair play. A tide rises all boats, etc.
That was close to correct. That was pretty good. You missed the rising bit out. A rising tide lifts all boats. A tide rises all boats. What? Rising tide lifts all boats. What if the tide, you just said a tide. What if the tide's going out? Then technically the boats are going to lower. All of them.
Pat, everybody knows that tides only ever come in. They go up. Always up. Tide machine goes brr. Sea level rises. Fucking wokeism.
That's look, even Kiwi Skirt saying you're wrong, mate. You know, Kiwi Skirt runs with an iron fist.
This is so close to workplace bullying.
Well, we just agree with the right to repair bill, and I think you need a repair, Chewie, and I've got the right to order it. Isn't that how it works? Or something like that? Something like that.
Oh, look, we could talk about the Consumer Guarantees Act till the cows come home. I'm still not sending your Xbox away.
All right. Is there anything else you want to get out there? Because we're pretty much done for the night.
There was something, and I've completely forgotten. No, gone forever.
All right. Well, team, it was nice to have Magenta on for a sec. Thank you very much. If you are a listener to our podcast, in other words, you do the Apple thing or the Spotify thing, then what we've started to do is when we have interviews, putting them up again on the weekend, it also means we have an opportunity to introduce our product to a different audience as well. So if you're an Apple podcast listener or a Spotify follower, this weekend you'll get, who will you get, Chewie? You'll get Sunita Torrance coming up. You'll get Jules Top coming up. You will get Simon Wilson coming up, and you'll get Tamitha Paul all coming up over the weekend, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. If you are listening to us right now on Apple Podcasts, a rate and a review would be really appreciated. It does genuinely help in the algorithm. And I guess, as I said, there's a chance I may go live on Sunday afternoon. So if you're watching on YouTube, the tube of you, then make sure you've got that notification bell clicked, because it will tell you if we go live, when we go live. I think the same for Facebook as well. I think you can do like a notify me of these posts. Yeah, the Facebook group's growing actually, and we don't really give you guys a lot of love other than the content. But it's growing, and the numbers of viewers are growing, so it's cool. Cool bananas. What else, Joey?
Hey, Pat, I do have a wee story to end with, because I'm just interested to hear what people's opinion of this is, because I found the reaction really interesting. There hasn't been a great history of video games companies doing New Zealand inspired content well.
Right.
We've seen all sorts of things like misusing people's accents, Māori imagery, tāmoko, all of that sort of stuff. So when I saw a story pop out a couple of weeks ago that Ubisoft had added a New Zealand character and a New Zealand Māori character into their game Rainbow Six Siege, I watched it with interest.
Your butt clenched for a second. Were you?
Well, it's interesting. That natural reaction of a New Zealander, of someone overseas has noticed New Zealand and put us in something. That's great. So Rainbow Six Siege, if you don't know about it, is a first-person shooter that has a counter-terrorism team and a terrorism team. So they have added a new Māori character in there in the counter-terrorist team. What is interesting about this is the character's birthday. Where is it? Right. So there we go. We got a little bit of tāmoko there. Can't see if it's accurate or anything, or whether they spoke to anybody about it. Who knows? We'll find that out. They've created a fake iwi for them, which is probably not great.
Although it'd be interesting to know about that, because using a real iwi might be worse, so if in consultation.
With a lot of things, like there's been video games that have actually reached out and had Māori consultants on there and found a way through to do it. And that's the way, right? If you consulted, you talk to someone, you've probably done the job. However, in the character's bio, she's 29 years old, born on March 15th in Christchurch.
Mm.
So that's made people a little bit clenched butthole about the whole thing. I don't know if it's a problem. Because imagine if your birthday was March 15th and in your hometown there's a terrorist attack and you dedicate your life to countering terrorism after that. That just seems to be a natural sort of thing. But they have now rolled back this and changed a bunch of stuff about the character. The character's still going in the game. They've just changed the details about the birthday. But I mean, it's a strange one. I wonder what people's thoughts are about this.
I also wonder, was that done on purpose or not? Because if it wasn't, it's a pretty unfortunate. It's like a third of 1% chance to pick that day if you look at all the days of the year.
With fires
or was there some? Yeah, maybe keep the sound off so we don't get booted.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. Is that on PlayStation platform or just on PC?
This is on everything really, but primarily I think it's a stronger PC game than anything. But yeah, they've had a range of characters. There's lots of different characters you can be. They all have different backstories and that sort of thing. And I've seen a lot of people that probably don't play the game or aren't gamers sort of getting caught up in it.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, there's other stuff there. Like they've given the character a fake iwi. They've made up a name for them, which apparently means happy home. And I was excited about this until I learned the character backstory. The new shooter, born in Christchurch, March 15th. The name of the character also translates to happy home when you Google it. So yeah, few people going, yeah, it's not a coincidence. I don't think it's a coincidence. There's no way that can be a coincidence.
Well, there is a way. No, you're wrong. There is a way, because there's only 365 J's to pick. So there is a way. But
okay.
It is 1/3 of 1% chance, basically 1 in 300, isn't it? So it's pretty unlikely. If that was completely off the cuff, then sheesh, unlucky.
Yeah, I mean, Ubisoft is a game development company. They're the big overall company. The game development studios within it are varied. There's the studio that develops Assassin's Creed, as an example, has often gone well out of their way to try and get things right about historical details and cultures and that sort of thing. That doesn't mean that the team that does Rainbow Six Siege is going to be as good at it. But for God's sake, any overseas game developers that are somehow tuning in because their spidey senses are tingling, if you're going to incorporate something from a country, run it past some people that are from that country.
I'm just looking up because it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't speak Māori, obviously, but hapai iwini. I mean, if it was something about a house, it would surely be whare, wouldn't it? And everything is whare paku, whare kai. I don't understand what that would be. Hapai, Hapai, is to take up, to show, to support, to shoulder, to begin, to lift up, lift, elevate, raise. And then iwini, is that even a word? Like IWINI? Yeah, no such word in Māori. It doesn't it just doesn't look right. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things that seems clumsy rather than deliberately offensive. They immediately pulled it as soon as someone pointed it out, but I think it's just clumsy, and they could have done a much, much better job and a much, much better story around it.
Do you know what it is? Probably. I mean, I don't mean to slag all Americans, but America seems to not think that them including something would ever be seen as bad. Like, what do you mean? You guys are cool. We want to put you in something. It's like, but to the people who like have ownership of that thing, it's really important to have it done correctly. And it seems that America, like I was talking to a mate the other day, Brooke Fraser, she's basically leading, she was leading music group at the Hillsong Church. Her salary, including all her royalties and stuff, $1.77 million a year. So she's making, bank, which is fine. And my mate who knows a bit about that world goes, in America, they go, $1.5 million. Good on you. I hope you make another $1 million, because they have this attitude of just go for it. It's all good. Success is good. Success more. When you get that attitude towards like a character from another culture, you're like, let's just get it out there and let's just do it. Whereas, I'm not saying this is a good thing. Or that classic Kiwi thing is like, it's a lot of money for singing a few songs, love, which is not good. But the flip side to that is we often be much more careful with putting anything out there. So somewhere in the middle is probably where we want to be. I don't know. I don't know. Yep. Apparently people are saying I anglicized some words. Yep. That's true. I did. Well, the first word. But anyway. Anywho. I think we're done, by the way, just before you go on another tangent. You got anything on this weekend? Anything happening for you?
No, I'm going to have a quiet weekend. Next week I am in Wellington for a couple of days, catching up with the Flatliners. So I will not be on the show next Thursday. But as I said, I'll try and be on the call on Saturday with amusing content.
Yeah. And thanks for being a part of what we're doing. Even though we said it, a big thanks to all of you for being involved and for doing what you're doing. But blimmin' Chad again, $100 super chat. It's just unreal. So just, huge thanks to you.
Giga
huge
Chad.
Thanks to everybody. But yeah,
got to change his display name.
Change your name.
You can
Chad.
have Giga Chad.
You're allowed to be Giga Chad from now on. We've decided. Actually, the chat decided. So there you go. And we'll be back on Monday. Of course, Bright Hearing News up tomorrow night from 9 p.m. Emily's back, I think, with Magenta. And we will catch you on Monday, me and Chewie, for another edition of Big Hearing News.
Help us settle a debate, whether it be thoughtful or funny, even if we're all creatures of hate. It's a fine line that we're walking together. For better, push aside the temptation to berate. Let's take a note of the corners we stand in. As many points as the hairs on my chinny chin chin. When the news that we're watching is hairy, knowing all the things that we need to be wary of. Like the rich have their hand out for rewards, while the many have to work at what they can't afford. And the rest of us ain't paying attention, or maybe have questions we're too worried to mention. Other media is still dwelling on trivial facts, vetting bees from the rice and the mice from the rats, and picking and choosing a warpath to run, and linking ourselves with the hill to die on. It's gotta come down to a welcoming vibe, with an A and a self and a higher in mind. All have a lean either this way or that, and will be analyzed by what Chewie and Pat. With the evil in the world trying to mess with your head, and you're sitting on the couch, you're thinking chivalry's dead. Each night, 2 nights, they're gonna sing you to bed. It's Big Hairy News.
Just remember the store's open right through the weekend. bhnshop.nz, patreon.com/Big Hairy News if you want to be a part of what we do. That's it for me, Chewie.
That's it from me. Yeah, Shane Jones wants to say something about the name of the country as well.
He was trying to change it. That looks like in about 1960, when he was maybe 1940, when he was apparently 35 years old. Well done. Well done, Shane. All right, team. We'll catch you Monday from 9 p.m. Be here with Magenta and Emily tomorrow night. Be safe through the weekend. See you Monday. Hooroo.
Cheers, man.